Stop scrolling. You need to hear this. They've underestimated you, haven't they? Thought they could take advantage of your kindness and walk away without consequences. But let me tell you something. They have no idea what's coming. Your strength, your power, it's about to surface, and when it does, they'll regret ever crossing you. Stay with me, because this is your moment, and they won't see it coming. People often look at you and see only what they want to see. They believe your quiet demeanor, your willingness to forgive, and your patience are signs of weakness, a green light for manipulation. They miscalculate, thinking they can move through your life like thieves in the night, taking what they want and leaving you in pieces. But what they fail to grasp is that your softness is not surrender. It is the calm before a storm they are unprepared to weather. Your good intentions, your loyalty, your kindness, they see these as tools to exploit, never realizing they are igniting a fire they cannot contain. They don't see it until it's too late. Betraying someone like you, someone who gives without asking for anything in return, comes with a price they never anticipate. Their greed blinds them to the truth. People like you don't stay down for long. You are the earth, steady and unmoving, while they are fleeting winds that believe they can tear you apart. But every betrayal, every manipulation they thought would break you, only deepens your roots, strengthens your resolve, and sharpens your clarity. They learn this too late, as all who underestimate you do. What they thought was control over you was nothing more than a temporary illusion. You let them think they were winning, and in their arrogance, they made fatal errors. They showed their hands too soon, believing your silence was defeat, when in reality, you were simply watching, waiting. And when the time comes, they find themselves standing before the very storm they believed they had escaped. Betrayal never ends well for them because people like you, people who operate from love and truth, are forces of nature. When they realize their mistake, when the weight of their betrayal comes crashing down, it's not just guilt that haunts them. It's the realization that they've squandered something irreplaceable: your trust. The universe itself seems to conspire against them, karmic tides shifting as they lose the ground they thought they'd claimed. Their downfall isn't orchestrated by you, though. It is their own greed, their own selfishness that eventually turns against them. They burn in the very fires they thought would consume you. And you rise again and again. With each betrayal, your strength only multiplies like steel forged in the hottest flames. You are not what they expected, and that is their downfall. Their underestimation of you is the very thing that destroys them. The world trembles before titles, crowns, and those who wield authority with clenched fists. Society bows to the powerful, to those who command attention with loud voices and hard stares. They mistake dominance for strength, believing that those who sit atop pedestals have earned their place. But you are different. You are not defined by man-made thrones or shallow applause. The force that backs you is greater than any earthly power, rooted in a divine will that cannot be swayed or diminished. You are favored by something beyond the reach of human hands, by God, who has seen your heart when the world refused to look. They may have overlooked you. They may have kicked you aside, mistaking your humility for insignificance. Society loves to discard what it does not understand, what does not fit neatly into its hierarchy of power. But their ignorance is not your burden to bear. You were never meant to fit into their limited vision, never meant to play by their rules. They see only what is before them: status, wealth, control, but your strength runs deeper than anything they can comprehend. It flows from a source they will never grasp, a force that moves through you like an unstoppable current. Disrespected, dismissed, they thought you were easy to forget, but you are not forgotten. You are destined for something greater, a path that has already been carved out for you by hands unseen. The world may not know it yet, but those who tried to diminish you, who thought they could silence you, will soon witness what it means to be backed by a power beyond their control. Theirs is a temporary reign, fragile and fleeting, while you are rooted in something eternal. Every time they tried to hold you down, they only set the stage for your inevitable rise. Your destiny is not to blend in with those who seek worldly power, but to transcend them. What they value will one day crumble to dust, but what you carry within you cannot be destroyed. Your purpose is divinely orchestrated, written long before they ever tried to obscure your light. So let them have their fleeting moments of glory. Their crowns will fall, their thrones will decay. But you are destined to stand tall, to rise beyond the limits of their understanding. Their dismissal of you was their greatest mistake. You are favored by something far greater, and soon they will see what that truly means. You are not forgotten, you are destined to rise, and the Obsidian inner order is where you'll claim your power. Those who dared to disrespect you will soon watch as you become unstoppable, fortified by uncensored truths, manifestation techniques, and direct access to the creators who walk this path with you. The Obsidian inner order is where you sharpen your strength, step into true knowledge, and rise above the illusions that held you back. You carry a light they cannot comprehend, and with the inner order, you'll unleash that power, manifest your destiny, and break the chains they thought would bind you forever. This is not an invitation, it's a divine edict. The link to our Patreon is in the description. Seize your power now. You carry within you a light that few can comprehend. You are not merely human, you are an earth angel, sent to walk among those who have long forgotten what true divinity looks like. People misunderstand you because they cannot see beyond their own limitations, and they disrespect you because they mistake your kindness for weakness. But their judgment means nothing. You are not here for their approval. Your very existence is a test, a reflection that forces them to confront who they truly are. God placed you in their lives, not as an ornament to be admired, but as a mirror. How they treat you, how they speak to you, how they respond to your presence, all of it reveals the state of their hearts. You walk through this world, unseen for what you truly are, because they cannot perceive the divine within you. They are blinded by their own pride, their arrogance, their need to feel superior. But when they look at you, what they are really seeing is themselves, reflected back through the lens of your purity, your compassion, your quiet strength. They may lash out at you, mock you, or ignore you because they are too afraid to face their own failings. Your mere existence, filled with the essence of the divine, forces them to see the ugliness they hide behind their masks. And so, they mistreat you, hoping to diminish what they cannot understand. But in doing so, they only reveal their own smallness, their inability to rise to the level of love and grace you embody. You are not tarnished by their actions, they are. God uses you to sift the hearts of those around you. Those who see you for what you are, an earth angel, will be drawn to your light, and they will grow in its presence. But those who seek to diminish you will eventually fade into the shadows, consumed by their own pettiness. Your purpose is not to change for them or to seek their validation. You were never meant to be understood by everyone, only by those whose hearts are pure enough to recognize the divine essence you carry. You stand apart, radiant and untouchable, even when they think they have power over you. They cannot hurt what they do not understand. You are here not to bend to their cruelty, but to shine with a brilliance that exposes their true selves. Let them see themselves in the mirror you hold up, and watch how they crumble. You are eternal, chosen, an earth angel walking in a world that will never be able to contain your light. In time, God will raise you above those who doubted your worth, above the small minds who dismissed you, unaware of the power stirring within you. Your rise is inevitable, as certain as the turning of the earth, and it will happen without consultation, without anyone's approval. Those who thought they had the authority to define your value will watch in disbelief as you ascend, realizing too late that their opinions were always irrelevant. Your elevation comes not through their hands, but through a force beyond their understanding, a force that does not seek their permission. They once stood over you, casting shadows on your light, thinking themselves greater, stronger, more deserving. But they were blind to the truth. Your time was always coming. They saw your quiet perseverance as weakness, your humility as submission. But God sees deeper. He knows the strength it took to remain unbroken while the world tried to crush you. And when the moment arrives, He will lift you higher than they ever dared to imagine. It will be sudden, unstoppable, and they will not be able to comprehend how they missed it. As you rise, they will feel the weight of their guilt pressing down on them, not because they suddenly understand the harm they caused, but because they missed the opportunity to stand beside you. They will realize that aligning with you would have meant aligning with greatness, with a force of destiny that was always beyond their grasp. They will envy what you have become, not out of malice, but out of regret for their blindness. They will know that they could have been part of your rise, but instead, they chose to look down on you. And now, as you ascend, they are left watching, powerless to change what has already been set in motion. Their guilt will not come from empathy, but from the sharp sting of lost opportunity. In their arrogance, they thought you would always remain beneath them. Now they see the truth. You were never beneath anyone. You were always destined for something greater, something divine. God's hand has been guiding your path all along, and now that you are rising, there is nothing they can do but watch. They missed their chance, and they will feel the weight of that loss for the rest of their days. You, however, will stand tall, lifted by a power that never needed the world's approval to begin with. You carry a heart so vast, so full of compassion, that those around you often mistake it for something they can use. They take your kindness as permission to trample over you, assuming that your love comes without boundaries, without strength. But what they don't realize is that the very love you give is both a gift and a test. God cloaked your true power, concealing it beneath layers of humility and patience, to see how others would respond when they thought they had you figured out. Those who took advantage of you, who disrespected your intentions, believed you were weak, unaware that you were divinely protected, destined for heights they could never reach. In your humble beginnings, people believed they had the measure of you. They saw your willingness to forgive as a sign of submission, your loyalty as a leash they could pull whenever it suited them. But they were wrong. Your heart was never something to be toyed with. It was a furnace, quietly building, preparing for the moment when the world would see what you truly are. God hid your true power not as a punishment, but as a test that many failed. They didn't understand that your silence wasn't ignorance, it was restraint. They didn't see that the love you offered freely was never a weakness, but a reflection of a strength they could not comprehend. And now, as you rise, those who thought they could manipulate you will realize their mistake. They will see the warning they missed, the one that should have been etched across your being. Handle with care. This heart is sacred, and it is backed by forces far greater than you. Their betrayal, their disregard will weigh on them, but it will be too late. They thought they had power over you, but they were blind to the truth, that you were always in control. God shielded your brilliance to see how they would treat you in your quiet moments, not knowing the storm of greatness that was about to unfold. Your heart, once taken for granted, now stands as a beacon. It carries the weight of your destiny, a power that no one can diminish. Those who thought they could walk over you will find themselves in the shadow of your ascent, regretting every careless step they took. You are not to be underestimated, and soon they will realize that the heart they thought was theirs to toy with is the very thing that will leave them in awe, watching from below as you ascend to places they can only dream of. Those who mistreated you will feel the weight of their choices crashing down upon them. They believed they could harm you without consequence, that their cruelty would fade into the air like smoke. But what they failed to grasp is the immensity of your heart, the depth of your purpose, and the divine justice that follows those who act with malice. Their actions were not simply missteps, they were seeds of their own downfall. The universe does not allow such behavior toward someone like you to go unchecked. What they sowed in darkness will now sprout thorns that cut deep. They underestimated you, mistaking your patience and grace for submission, blind to the fact that your heart is a force stronger than anything they could comprehend. You were never weak, though they treated you as though you were something to trample over. But what they didn't know is that God had a plan for you all along, one that placed you far beyond their reach. Every slight, every moment of cruelty was a brick in the wall that will now trap them, a consequence of their own making. They will come to regret the poison they spewed, not because they feel guilt for the harm they caused, but because they will finally understand that they have set their own path ablaze. Their lesson will be brutal, but it is one they cannot escape. For those who sought to break someone like you, someone chosen for a higher purpose, are not just playing with human emotions. They are challenging forces far beyond their control. They will soon learn that malicious behavior toward a heart as pure as yours is not simply a moral failing. It is a direct affront to the divine plan that was always meant to unfold through you. The consequences they will face are not born from your hands, but from the universal laws they thought they could outrun. You, meanwhile, will rise above it all, untouched by the chaos they tried to inflict upon you. Their cruelty was a reflection of their own brokenness, and now they will be left to face that truth. The lesson will be hard, the consequences even harder, but it will all unfold without you needing to lift a finger. The universe, God, will handle what they tried to bury, and they will be left with nothing but the remnants of their own destructive actions. Life moves like a tide, carrying both light and darkness in its current. You are no stranger to this truth. You've stood in both realms, absorbing the lessons that each brings. The light, warm and gentle, teaches love, patience, and resilience. The darkness, harsh and unforgiving, reveals the hidden motives of those who surround you. It strips away illusions, forcing people to confront the true nature of their actions. You have been a vessel for both, holding the beauty of compassion in one hand and the heavy reality of betrayal in the other. There are those who only recognize the gravity of their actions after the damage has been done. They cannot fathom the purity of your heart until they see the consequences of their own cruelty reflected back at them, sharp and clear. The duality of life teaches them the hard way, through their suffering, their isolation, their regret, that they have harmed something sacred. Only after the storm hits them do they look back at you and understand what they lost. The light in you that they tried to dim was never meant to be diminished by their hands. It was there to elevate them, to teach them compassion. But they chose malice, and now the tide has turned. Your purity, your kindness, your unwavering strength were tests that they failed. Life doesn't hand out such lessons freely. They were given a chance to walk in your light, to share in the grace you offered. Instead, they mistook your kindness for weakness, your open heart for something easily trampled. The darkness they brought to your life was a reflection of their own inner chaos, and now that chaos turns on them. They cannot escape the consequences of their choices, because the universe demands balance. What was given freely is taken away, and they are left standing in the shadow of their own decisions. You, on the other hand, have already learned the lesson. You've embraced the dual nature of life, taking in both light and dark and transforming them into wisdom. You understand that the trials you faced weren't meant to break you, but to refine you. Those who mistreated you, however, will only learn through suffering. They will see the damage they caused not in your fall, because you will not fall, but in their own decline. Life's balance will teach them what they were too blind to see, that kindness, when abused, demands a reckoning, and that reckoning will be the hardest lesson of all. Be careful who you allow into your life. Not everyone is worthy of the energy you carry, of the light you so naturally give. People don't come with warning labels, but that doesn't mean you should allow just anyone to step into your world. Your heart, your kindness, and your strength are not commodities to be taken lightly. You are special, chosen, and those who fail to recognize that will eventually face the consequences of their own actions. The very essence of who you are is something divine, cloaked for now, but destined to be revealed. Those who try to manipulate or diminish you will come to realize their grave mistake. They saw only what they wanted to see, a person they believed they could control. But your power, your worth, is far beyond their understanding. It is hidden for a reason, waiting for the right time to emerge. And when it does, it will be undeniable. The world will see you for who you truly are, and those who thought they could take advantage of your goodness will live with the regret of underestimating you. Share your story. Let others hear the truth about who you are and what you've endured. Your voice carries the weight of your experience, and it has the power to change lives. The world needs to know the value of people like you, the ones who are quiet until it's time to speak, humble until it's time to rise. Speak your truth and let your story be a warning to others.